Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lift from the table the motion to reconsider our action in passing Senate Bill 12.
Without objection, so ordered. Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to reconsider our action on Senate Bill 12.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 12 on third and final consideration.
Chairman White moves passage. Vice Chairman Slater, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to reconsider our action on amendment number 1.
Is there objection? Without objection, so ordered. Vice Chairman Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to withdraw amendment number 1.
Is there objection? Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion for passage of Senate Bill 12 on third and final consideration.
Chairman White renews his motion. Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can you explain what form the bill is currently in after those procedural maneuvers? Thank you.
Chairman White.
Yes, sir, Leader Clemens. This is the bill that we had a couple of days ago on the ESA, Education Savings Account. The original form of the bill was Hamilton County only. That is what the Senate is approved only, so we're going to concur with the Senate. The bill will only be Hamilton County.
Any further discussion? All right. Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do agree with the Senate halfway. I do appreciate them taking one of the two counties that they added. However, I still don't think this bill goes far enough. I will renew my plea to the fact that this pilot program needs to run its course. I think the Senate saw that somewhat, probably had a reluctant member or two, but this was a 2019 pilot project. To bring everybody up to speed, I don't think I can't even hear myself talk, and I got the microphone. This was an opportunity to run a pilot project in 2 of our urban counties, and we've not done that yet. So I do appreciate the Senate taking one of those counties off. To the sponsor, would you entertain taking both counties off and asking the Senate if they would consider that? I'm betting that would probably pass the Senate.
Chairman White.
Thank you. No, sir. This was the bill originally that I received from the Senate sponsor, and they sent it back on this way, so I will honor that, and I would like to request that we pass this reconsideration.
Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Chairman White. I just want to express concern on the process in regards to persons in the district where those schools are located. In reality, were not consulted, including the representative of those persons. And for one individual in another body to determine what the future will be in regards to schooling in this district, I think is totally inappropriate. And I would ask if we would consider removing Chattanooga from this list, because it's not speaking to the interests, the concerns of the people in the sense that we're not consulted. Someone feels they know better than the people who are impacted than the people themselves. So I too would like to ask, Mr. Chairman, if you would give consideration to removing Chattanooga from that list.
Chairman White.
Thank you, sir. As you know, every legislation has to have a Senate and a House sponsor, and a citizen of Hamilton County brought this bill out, and so they asked me in the House to carry it on the House side. So I am carrying it for a citizen of Shelby County on their behalf. Excuse me, of Hamilton County.
Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. a citizen, well, yes, he would be a citizen of Hamilton County, but a legislative person in the Senate. That's what you're speaking of, right?
Chairman White.
Correct.
Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to make that clear so my people will understand that also.
Yes, sir. Representative Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To sponsor, are highway dollars linked to education in any way?
This is on the amendment to remove Knox County out of the, this is a message calendar. We're not on the bill. We're actually on the amendment about removing Knox. Representative, we removed the Senate amendment. We're back on the House amendment, but we're under message. Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, I would just, so we're keeping Hamilton in, correct?
Chairman White.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Representative Mitchell.
So, yeah, I was just looking at, I was curious that Hamilton was getting 2 times the per capita amount of everyone else in highway dollars, and this bill seems to be going through. So it's kind of curious, you know, what kind of deal was cut. But all right, thanks.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Sponsor, we're taking Knox out, correct?
Chairman White.
That is correct. What came back from the Senate was the original bill. Knox is out, and it's only Hamilton County.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. And if my memory serves me correct, I think overall we've had, about 500 students statewide so far to get involved with this voucher bill, to take advantage of the voucher bill?
Chairman White.
That is correct.
Representative Parkinson.
So is it the intent, because there's been dismal participation, to expand it into Hamilton County because no one wants to do this, or no one cares about this voucher bill? What's the intent?
Chairman White.
No, sir, that's incorrect. The reason, because it was tied up in court for 2 years and just released 8 months ago, so therefore it was a slow rollout. The Department of Education had to then put everything back in place, so it's just been a slow rollout the first 8 months. Right now, I think up to maybe 2,000 people, another 1,500 have started the application process.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And that was my next question. What is your expected projection for Hamilton County in enrollment?
Chairman White.
I have no idea. The cap is 5,000, so we're just giving the people options that want it.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And if you can, how many are currently enrolled in the voucher program now?
Chairman White.
It's my understanding about 500.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So 1/10 of what was the cap. So 1/10 of the cap has been enrolled, and we're expanding it into another county, into Hamilton County, when we've only received 1/10 of the participation so far.
Chairman White.
Thank you. And you're talking about the original bill, which we have passed. We're just back comes in the removing Knox County.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Chairman White. I have to talk about that in order to talk about the expansion of it, which is what we're doing. And so in order to bring context to the expansion, I have to talk about where we are, because we're expanding under this message. We're expanding. We took the 2 biggest counties and put this program in it, and it performed dismally because nobody wants to be involved in it. And so now we're expanding this program into another large county, but it just makes it appear we're expanding it because nobody was interested in the first 2 largest counties.
Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, you're making your assumption. That is not correct. This is an opportunity that we're putting out in these areas for those parents who would like to have the opportunity. Hamilton County has 3 priority schools, and this is giving those children opportunity.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I understand that, Chairman White, But again, I go back to what Representative Hakeem said, that nobody came to talk to him, and he's one. His schools are the ones that are being affected. And you know, if there was no interest, because my schools were affected in Shelby County, and apparently there was not a lot of interest in doing this. You know, maybe we should look at expanding it into some of these rural communities where they're excited about it, instead of taking it into these urban communities where they lack the enthusiasm about your voucher program that takes public funds and sends it to private entities and private schools. And if the private schools were so benevolent, they would just reduce their prices so that these poor black kids can go into their schools. Oh, that
Chairman White?
question mark.
Chairman White?
I appreciate your comments. I read my motion.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I got 30 seconds left. So, Chairman White, this is a bad bill. This is a bad idea. You know, this takes public dollars away from public schools and gives it to people who are trying to make profits off of the heads of black and brown and poor children. It's a bad idea. It's a bad look. Thank you.
Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman White, thank you for bringing this bill. During the previous conversation, there were several points that were brought up. Just wanted to elaborate on. This program was held up in the court system, and it didn't get approved to be able to move forward until just shortly before the school semester started. Is that correct?
Chairman White.
Yes, 8 months ago, and so it has a slow rollout. That's why we've only been able to get 500 in so far, but we're putting the opportunity out there. Thank you.
Representative Ritchie.
Thank you. So since it was held up, that's what limited folks from being able to participate. So that's not a barren, like any type of gauge on whether it's been successful or not. If anything, I think 500 families deciding to send their kids through this particular program in that short period of time shows that it's something that is needed. And with an additional 1,500 families, I don't believe that the number is 1,500 students. There's 1,500 additional applications from family members. So that shows the increased desire for folks across this state. And now we're expanding another one. An important component of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is so that we can get this data to show either A, how well it's working, or B, how well it's not working. But we can go all the way up to that 5,000 student mark, correct?
Chairman White.
Thank you, and I agree absolutely with your comments. Thank you very much.
Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Chairman. I support the bill.
Representative Zachary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question's been called. Who called? Oh, sorry, I didn't hear him call your name. Okay, Representative Hakeem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Chairman White, I heard you say that you were, in this instance, dealing with Hamilton County, you were giving the people what they want. Now, to my knowledge, there's one individual in our legislative body who have encouraged you to move in this direction that you're talking about, including Hamilton County. How can that one individual speak for the people of Hamilton County? Please.
Chairman White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The same way you, sir, speak for. And if you look on the sign-on list, there's other people from Hamilton County who have signed on this legislation. We are representative government, and so we are here discussing this. It was brought to us by some representatives and from the House and the Senate, and we are moving forward at their request. As I mentioned the other day, I'm a big supporter of parents' right to choose what is best for their child's education, and I'm standing here advocating for that.
Representative Hakeem.
Okay. So it's irrelevant what the representative for those schools has to say on this issue. What other representatives have to say has more weight with you than the representative who represents those schools.
Chairman White.
Representative, I love you. Your words, not mine. No, sir. It's not true.
Representative Hakeem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple of other questions. One, In regards to potential loss of monies, if those children leave the public or charter schools and go to a private school, does the money follow the children? And if so, what is the impact on the schools that they have left?
Chairman White.
In the original legislation in 2019, we hold harmless the public schools for 3 years. They continue to get the money just like the child was there. We did that intentionally to protect on the thing. Now, once 3 years is up, it's just like a child moves away or moves in and out of our state or anywhere else, goes to a different district, then the schools only get the funding for the children that are going to in that particular school.
Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, so if I'm understanding what you're saying, the schools that we're dealing with, the 5 schools that are being proposed, those are the only instances where children have the option to leave a school and go to a private school, or does this apply to Hamilton County in general schools?
Chairman White.
It applies to Hamilton County, sir.
Representative King.
Thank you. Now, the wording I saw, it was dealing with the 5 schools, but now you're telling me that is any school, any child can leave public schools who are in this category and go to, I'm going to say, a private school. Am I correct on that?
Chairman White.
Only those students who fall in the, as I mentioned the other day, the income range. This is, you have to have a district or a county that has 3 or more priority schools, and they have to fit within the income level of twice that of those if you receive the free lunch program. So it's designed for those students who don't have the opportunity to make a choice. And so that's why I'm such a big advocate of this, to help those students who are at least capable of having a choice.
Representative King.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So the reality of it is the demographics, black and brown children are those who are going to be leaving these schools. And it's not just the 5 schools we're talking about, we're saying any school. Am I correct?
Chairman White.
You talk about any school. These are schools which have to be certified, qualified by the state, not just any. When we designed the legislation back in 2019, we were very emphatic that we did not want any school popping up as a result of the legislation. So you had to be a certified 1, 2, or 3 category private school. These that are authorized by the state that are high performing.
Representative King.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The question was,
that was 5 minutes. Representative Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question has been called. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 12, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 57, 27 nays, 5 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 12, having received a constitutional